Hello, this is Rachel from 7 and All, and let's talk middle school today. In this video, I'm going to be sharing our roughly 7th grade curriculum picks for our family's current middle schooler. We don't tend to stop and start homeschool curriculum at the beginning and end of the traditional school year. We just keep rolling and start new subjects and start new levels as the old one is completed. So as I am sharing all of these resources, she has pretty recently started most of them. And you're going to see that as we go along. So I'll be sharing all of these picks today. I'll start with math. For math, she is doing Math UC pre-algebra. She has done Math UC from the very beginning and is just continuing straight along. For an extra math element, she is also doing Life of Fred pre-algebra 0 with physics. So that's a very different approach from Math UC. If you're familiar with Life of Fred, you know that the whole series follows the story of Fred and his doll Kingy and a variety of other characters at the university where Fred teaches, and Fred is a young child math genius professor. They tend to be very interesting and humorous and give you some math problems to solve and teach math concepts as well as other concepts. So she does that in addition to her Math UC. Next, for history, Bible, and literature, she is doing a very old version of Sunlight D and E, the combined American history year. And when I say old, I mean that this core is probably about 15 years old. So if you look at the new Sunlight D plus E core on their website today, there definitely are some different books. It's not exactly the same as what she's doing. We're not using the old one necessarily because we think, oh, older is better. It's because it's what we have. And using what you already have is actually a really useful thing and a very budget-wise thing to do in homeschool. We have this old version of Sunlight D and E. She is going through that, and we do Sunlight a little bit differently. She tends to read the books independently to herself, and then after the end of her school day, she will narrate what she learned. She'll discuss what she learned with my mom at the end of the day. So it's not done in a read aloud type setting, gathering the family together. Because she is a middle schooler, there's only one person to do this level, and because she loves to read, that tends to work very well for her. Now, I mentioned that she loves to read, and she really does. As my mom is always saying, she cannot find enough books to give to her, but we try. But she does tend to struggle with some reading comprehension issues. She can struggle with vocabulary and just with the amount of new things that are covered in books. So one thing that we have been adding in to help with her reading comprehension is the literature guides that I have created. And some of the literature guides that I've created are for books in her Sunlight core that she's reading. Some of them are for other books, but we can just add in other books because she can never get enough of reading. But the literature guides that I created are really to help that student who is an independent reader, but could use a little bit of guidance to help them get the most out of really understanding a story, help them to understand the point that the author was getting at, and just to kind of like poke them in this direction of really understanding what they're reading. So I'll just give you a little example here. These are not going to be a huge part of her day. They are very short and easy to complete. So for example, this is for chapter 4. We have a couple of vocabulary words. We have a writer's note here, which in this case is talking about how the author used a metaphor to describe a character's laugh. Then we have a few short questions that relate to the happenings in the chapter, the action of that chapter. At the end of this day, we have a little bit of a connection between what was going on in that character's life, the need to learn new skills, new jobs to help her family, and talking about the kind of work that you might do to help your family and how you could grow more skilled in helping your family. Then in this one, we have a picture of something that the reader might not know what it looks like, a horn book. In this chapter, a horn book is being featured as a tool for children to learn how to read. So I included a picture of a horn book just to help my sister or anyone using this literature guide to be able to picture, oh, that's what they mean when they say a horn book. And again, we have short comprehension type questions to answer. So it's very similar to that with each chapter or each section. I will link to our literature guides down below, and I will also try to link to all the resources I'm mentioning. But this is something that we add in to help her reading comprehension, because she tends to read very fast, she gobbles up books, she enjoys them, but these literature guides can help her slow down enough to just appreciate the story a little bit more, get a little bit more out of it, and understand it more deeply. All right, I've covered math, Bible, history, literature. Now for science, she is doing Apology as Young Explorers, exploring creation with physics and chemistry. Now, I believe I said that we had picked this science for her 6th grade year, but because of the way that we just roll from one subject to another, she actually didn't end up starting that until quite late. Also because we were traveling a lot last year, she started it pretty late. So she has been doing that one for a while. She didn't just start it, but she's also not super close to finishing it. That's what she's doing for this year until whenever she finishes, and then we will choose something else when that one is done. We may continue to stick with Apologia and go straight to the middle school levels that come after the Young Explorers. I'm not quite sure what our plan is that will come right after that. For grammar, she is doing Abeka's Grammar and Composition 1. Now, I've talked about this several times in my Abeka videos or language arts videos. I think that Abeka is very, very strong and really drills grammar principles. However, I don't really think that their writing instruction is incredibly strong, or that it's something that you can really rely on to teach good writing skills. And I've also made videos about how I prefer to teach writing when I can be dedicated to one student and give them examples of writing in content, writing in history content, or writing in science content. But she does need more guidance than I can personally give her right now. I used to be able to do a lot more schoolwork with my sisters when we lived in the same building and when we were in quarantine, but I'm just practically not seeing her as often right now. My mom's having more meetings outside the house, so she needed something a little bit more independent. So we're actually going to be trying something new for writing, and something that she can do independently, although I will still be meeting with her a couple times a week to go over and look at how she's doing at following the assignments and really understanding the assignments. So this is something totally new. I don't quite know yet what I will think of it, but we went through our shelves. As I said, we always try to focus on using what we have if we can and if it makes sense, but we had pretty much nothing for middle school writing instruction. Nothing that she hasn't done and nothing that she could do independently. So we are going to be doing Writing Strands Intermediate Level 1 for her writing. We're just starting that out. I will do a video updating how we'd like it and what I think of it once we get further into it. But to me, we were basically looking for an affordable option that you could get as a download because we are overseas, and that seemed pretty doable from an independent standpoint, and also one that wouldn't really annoy me because I tend to be a little bit opinionated about writing instruction, but when you can't totally DIY something for practical reasons, sometimes you just got to get something that'll work. So I'm interested to see how that one turns out, Writing Strands Intermediate Level 1. So we've covered all the core subjects. One extra that she is also doing is Mystery of History, Volume 3. She's actually already gone through that volume as a read aloud from my mom years ago when she was younger. Now she's just reading it to herself independently, pretty much for fun. Her favorite subject is history. So I want to encourage you, if you have a child who just has a really favorite subject or something they really love to do, feel free to totally double up on it if it's something that they love and they're motivated. She actually asked to read Mystery of History again, so she's reading it to herself, and she's also looking at the activity guide and independently doing some of the activities that she wants to do and is interested in doing. And I think because of that motivation, she's going to end up getting a lot of it, remembering a lot of these things that she's learning about. All right, so that is the core of our 7th grade plans for our current middle schooler. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments below. Do you have any middle schoolers this year? And if you do, what element of their upcoming curriculum or routine or subjects that they're learning, which element are you and your middle schooler most excited about? I'd love to hear. All right, if you find these videos helpful and you like just nerdy homeschool content, please remember to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to 7 and All because I have so many nerdy homeschool videos coming. I'll be seeing you next time. Bye.